does Comey come under fire here, Wendy?
Oh, he already has. He already has.
He is on this table, but in general,
I think the conversation at this table is representative of conversations occurring in living rooms across the nation.
I agree.
And he knew that was going to happen when he came to the conclusions he had, which again is no doubt why he laid out the speech the way he did.
And it's why this isn't going away.
And it may not. It may not. In fact, just because there's no charges today does not mean, as some of you have inquired earlier, does it mean that there may not be some level of liability, even criminally, for some other acts in the future?
And to Wendy's point, still there could be charges down the road. What's the likelihood of that?
Low.
Low nothing.
Low none. But nonetheless, if it's any solace, no investigation is ever closed if new evidence comes to light.
So what are your thoughts on this Trump phenomenon?
You know, when it comes to controversial comments, Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, we have something almost daily to discuss that he has said.
It's true.
But has that kept him in the spotlight? You know, remember we were having the same conversation when he made the illegal immigration comments. Same conversation when he talked about John McCain not being a war hero.
I thought he was out after the John McCain comment.
And so did a lot of other people. And here we are talking about the same thing. You got to wonder, is it just words? Because this is not a practical proposal. How would you determine what religion somebody is? It's not on our driver's license. It's not on our passports. Maybe it's on our online dating profile as we were looking through the San Bernardino shooters' profiles. But nobody tells the truth there anyway. How would we ever enforce this?
What happens now, Wendy?
Well, you know exactly right. There's a visceral response that we have to comments like this. Now, viscerally, we know we shouldn't talk like this, but there's a certain segment of society, a large segment of society, that thinks, I want to stay safe, and that's my number one priority
100%.
in this day and age. And to those people, comments like this are very strong, and they resonate. So that probably is going to explain why I don't think he's going to see a significant drop in the polls, just like he didn't after the other controversial comments. Donald Trump is a man about whom everyone has an opinion. And he's gotten more negative attention, Lou, and that's one of the things that some of the poll results were showing, is he also ranks first in who would you definitely not vote for president. So it's kind of almost counterintuitive. Page 6 now, the 2016 race for president. On the Democrat side, Hillary Clinton is having a little trouble with her base this week. Members of the American Federation of Teachers are demanding the union withdraw its endorsement of Hillary, calling it premature and undemocratic. And at a town hall meeting in New Hampshire, she got heckled by a climate change activist. Well, what strikes me about this race on both sides now is the fact that to voters, credibility counts. You know, on the GOP side, we've gone from attacking Donald Trump's insensitivity to his honesty. On the Democratic side, credibility has been something that has plagued Mrs. Clinton for years. And ironically, it's one of the reasons that Bernie Sanders is being described as a fresh face in the race on that account. So will this latest revelation make a difference? Probably not to Clinton supporters, because this is nothing new. I hate to say it that way, but from an ethics standpoint and a credibility standpoint, she'll come back and she'll have some explanation as to why we found the information we have. Can you believe what they say on the debate stage? I mean, Maria, I know you've been in the fray. You can only ask the questions and hope that you can keep control of the answers.
Right.
But that's credibility seems to permeate almost every issue we discuss when it comes to who do you want running the country.
Dr. Wendy Patrick, political analyst, behavioral expert, and author of Reading People, has her eye on the big trends for the debate. She is here with us tonight.
I'll tell you, Sean and Jim, I'm not sure what was more interesting, the actual debate or the Twitter after party.
Oh, the Twitter after party was wild, wasn't it?
Yep.
Hands down. Now, this is being affectionately referred to as Trump's bilingual moment. Who knew he spoke Spanish?
Yeah.
I thought he got on Jeb Bush for speaking Spanish in the primary. And go figure, two of the big groups of voters he needs to win over, Latinos and women. That is why Hillary spent the last week in the debate bunker, prepping and making sure she had everything ready so she didn't have to resort to off-the-cuff remarks, leaving nothing to chance.
Let's do something they didn't do last night. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Wendy.
Thank you for having
Wendy
me.
Patrick, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Well done.
All right.
In other words, do the Benghazi emails come first? Are those going to come out next month?
Those were deleted.
That's funny.
That's exactly right. I think there's like 300 that are.
Intimidation by invitation.
Yes.
In other words, the psychological warfare played by populating the front row with foes. I swear this is the last sports metaphor, but I think both candidates are going to foul out of the game. In other words, they are not going to stick with the questions that they're going to be asked. They're very good together. They have very good chemistry together. I know there have been statements made in the past by Michelle Obama, but her husband was running against Mrs. Clinton, so obviously we've got to put those statements into context. One of the things you saw with Rubio is the same dynamic you've seen with other Republican candidates. You can't really call them surrogates because they're not out there stumping for Trump, but they are going to vote for him, although they say somehow that's not an endorsement. He also emerged as the interrupter-in-chief because he interrupted so many times. I mean, they've already been counted up. Nonetheless, he really accomplished what he set out to do. It was obvious, he was practiced, but practice makes perfect. Well, we have been talking about this almost nonstop for as long as I can remember. We are ready to rumble. The candidates are preparing. They're going to be ready. They're bringing their very different styles to a 90-minute debate with no breaks. Now, why do I mention this? One of the questions on every American's mind is how long can Donald Trump hold it together? But this is going to be different, Raul. It's just he and Hillary toe-to-toe. Hillary's done this many times. Trump has never done this. He can't go into hibernation as he was able to do during the primary and let his opponents slug it out over the tough and complicated policy questions. Right now, Hillary's got the policy and Donald Trump's got the personality. Can they learn a little bit from each other in how to provide both education and entertainment, flash and substance? They've got to have both. Or could they both actually maintain a very level, even playing field for the full 90 minutes? If that happens, you know, nobody's going to watch the next debate.
Yeah, exactly.
More of a
People are
grapple
watching for
than a
that.
boxing match, right?
Exactly.
To come from. What will make a difference is the dynamic that these moderators are going to create. And this was a delicate decision because remember the viewers pick up on the either animosity or congeniality between the candidates and whoever's moderating the discussion. Now, is it a big deal that they have a contradiction over whether Mexico is going to pay for the wall?
Right.
No. I mean, the art of the deal, Donald Trump first sentence in that book, I don't do it for the money. You don't just go for the throat and go right into who's going to pay for the wall. And by the way, he's likely to find a creative way that Mexico pays for the wall. In other words, they're not going to be just forking over a check. She humanized herself a bit, you know, with the shimmy, like everybody's been demonstrating so well. She also humanized herself by really smiling a lot more. In other words, she was polished because practice makes perfect. But because viewers are voters and because this was a split screen, you know, face-off between the two, quite literally, perception influences reality. So she's going to be working even more so between now and October 9th on making sure that her visuals match her verbals. Right. You know, Raul, health and wealth, those two issues have really dominated the news cycle the last couple of days. Hillary's doctor says her health is excellent. Donald Trump, of course, came up with a glowing letter saying he's the healthiest man in the world, basically the healthiest candidate to ever run for office. I say we just put a Fitbit on the both of them, have them wear it for a day of campaigning, and then let's look at the results at the end, and we'll be the judges of that.
I like that.
It's true that that was the way he was behaving, but remember, one of the reasons for his poll vault this week, many people are speculating, is not so much Hillary's emails and the FBI report that came out on Friday, but the fact that Trump has really kind of stepped back, toned it down, looking a little more presidential. Hillary is preparing for the debate by looking at how she can get under his skin. She's reviewing reels of what set him off during the debates on the primary. So if she can get him to lose his cool, that could make a big difference. It looks bad. There's no way of getting around that. Okay, so we've said that. In combination with what Trump admitted during the primary debates, he said, I'm a businessman. I give money to everybody. 2-3 years in the future, I call them, they're there for me. Those are his words. So the difference is it different in business than it is in politics? Trump seems to be saying yes.
Wendy, you get the last word here.
Okay, Raul, hashtag what is Aleppo has been
Hashtag,
trending
yes.
ever since Gary's Syrian slip-up. It's true, we do expect our presidential nominees to have a good working knowledge of foreign policy, but the reason they have a cabinet is because you can't expect a presidential nominee to know everything. Now, he should have known what Aleppo was. He said he knew what it was. He said it was a blank. I don't know that he would have made the debate stage anyway. But remember, this speech was very vehement on Hillary Clinton's part, but he called her a bigot. Yesterday, I mean, he was very clear in his attack on her, so she's counterpunching. You know, I mean, she can counterpunch with the best of them. Matter that much because Americans are more concerned about jobs, about education for their kids, about taxes, about national security. These are the things that concern them far more than what Hillary and Donald are calling each other on the latest show.
Well, we wish they would talk about those things.
Really?
For the very first time, and you can call me on this in a couple of months if I'm wrong, but for the very first time.
Oh, we will.
Okay, no, I know. We have seen a more presidential, a more tempered. Sure, it's lower energy, to use his own words, but that's a good thing when it comes to somebody like Donald Trump that was his own worst enemy in the primary, or I should say more so in the beginning of the general election. So now that he is staying on script, he's dealing with the issues, he has toned down some of the fire. Somebody obviously took his phone away from him because we're not seeing those divisive tweets anymore. He could definitely turn this thing around, but he's got to start now. Yes, I mean, the October surprise promised by Julian Assange. I mean, this man is despicable
but credible. We know that because of the fallout of the WikiLeaks dump that happened right before the DNC,
Right.
which caused the resignation of 5 top Democratic officials. And if in fact these two men are two peas in a pod, you can see how both of them on both sides could spin this in a way that appeals to Trump voters. Or I should say the undecideds, because all we've been talking about the last couple of days is these undecided voters, the stealth voters, those that are either ashamed or intimidated into not revealing the fact that they're voting for Trump. They need some kind of a rationale to hang their hat up before they come out of the closet and publicly declare, yes, in fact, I'm going to vote for Donald. Republicans signing on to that letter wanting money diverted from Donald Trump to some of the down ballot candidates. We've seen that from many Republicans saying they're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Can you imagine this?
Wow.
And